Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So, for people who don't know who are you and what do you do these
Yes.
days?
Good question. Well, my name's Camille Countryman, as you said. Nice conversation starter surname. Obviously, from my accent, I am North American, which I will say before saying American, from San Diego, California, which is actually not a bad part of the country. Moved to New Zealand about 8 years ago, and I've been with Arizto Real Estate the last 3 or so years in their growth team, so doing the bulk of their recruitment around the country, which is how you and I know each other. Not that I was able to recruit you, but I call real estate agents all day, every day, and find out what they're up to and if the non-traditional, I guess you could call it, approach is something of interest to them. And then from that point, I really am just an educator. So yeah, I've been doing that for a while. Outside of that, I'm a bit of a homebody. I'm not going to lie. I live in the Mount Maunganui, for anybody listening to this, outside of our Bay of Plenty bubble. And I guess I'm just on foot to the bars and restaurants with my partner and friends, beach times during the summer, bit of volleyball. But yeah, I could waffle on, but that's about a good summary.
That's a good summary, good
Yeah.
synopsis of
Yeah.
Camille
My life.
2026. So, I guess for people not involved with real estate, do you want to explain a little bit about the company you work for and how it is different from a traditional company? Because, yeah, a lot of people, I know our circles are quite tight and they know all these things, but
Yeah.
for people listening, do you want
Outside
to
of
dive
it.
into that a little bit? How you sort of
Yeah.
differentiate and I guess how does your day-to-day look to people who know nothing about real estate?
Yeah. Well, I guess to explain how Arista works, it helps to start with an explanation of how traditional real estate in this country works. It's quite different to other countries. I'm only half exposed to how things work in Australia, the US and Canada. But essentially, from my learnings here, you could take your pick of any big brand. We'll go with the top three: Ray White, Harcourt's, Bailey's.
I'm not calling them out here. You are, just if they listen and
Well, and there's nothing bad. There's nothing bad to be said. It's just that you have recognizable names. Let's say for people who are listening in, they may have seen that sign around their own neck of the woods. You've got what would be a traditional setup where you have offices around the country, leasing models. Of course, each office will require management and admin and front desk staff and all the normal things that it would take to run an office. You've got agents out in the field and then also partially behind a desk at that office, operating perhaps on paper. More and more these days, they're utilizing various forms of technology, whether to sign contracts like DocuSign, things like that, but they're usually split between other admin bits, right? The paper-based model. I think you and how you operate might be a little different. You were at a boutique or are at a boutique agency, but essentially you've got what I would call a top-heavy model. And you've got people on the bottom out charging, normal commissions, to afford the back end that they hang their license at. Yeah. So Aristo identified a gap in the market where they wanted at the crux of it to drive the cost of real estate commissions down without punishing the agent who's doing, let's be honest, a lot of the work to get the deals across the line, to form the relationships, etc. So you can think about Arista the way we have seen things like Uber or Airbnb come in and disrupt their industry utilizing technology. So they built a software, they built an app and a dashboard from the ground up to essentially put an office into the palm of an agent that is on the go rather than asking them to come to a physical building. So by way of doing that, they managed to avoid leases around the country, which is a huge overhead to avoid. And it meant that they could allow their agents to charge the general public a lot less by comparison to the traditional model. But behind it, we now have structured it to operate on a volume-based business. We take a fixed fee per sale off the agent. So it means they have a predictable split with us, which 9 times out of 10 leaves more money in their hand per sale. But they're charging their vendor a whole lot less. And, 8 years later, Aristo's 8 years old now, we've added things like Trade Me Platinum, and we've had to kind of copy ways of the traditional model, but it always is padded by our DNA looking different. So we allow the money to move a lot more smoothly. More smoothly is kind of adding an opinion to it, I guess. But we place this technology in an agent's hand to become more efficient, to have a back end, almost virtual assistant throughout the whole process, ask them to do less of the busybody stuff, and free them up to, I guess, get in front of the people more and do what most agents are best at and why they got licensed, which is work their network, solidify relationships, convince people of a transaction,
annoy the general public, and so forth.
You said that, not me.
I guess for people who aren't involved in real estate, I guess Amazon, Uber, they're good comparables. You're literally getting rid of the bricks and mortar shop, like storefronts.
Correct.
You're saving, which would be anyone who's had a business where they've leased a building. I've got a gym background. I think most people listening know that.
Yeah.
Leasing, gym premises, it's a massive. It could be 50% of your income you're needing just to maintain that, and the office lady or office man these days. It could be whoever. But you're sort of a comparable, I guess, to some degree to like what Amazon did, what Uber did.
For sure. Yeah. You think
okay analogy? Yeah.
100%. I have never used the Amazon one, but I do speak often to the taxi versus Uber metaphor. I would say back in the day, but still today, because it's not like Ubers have obliterated taxi companies. They still exist. So we're not here to obliterate every option in real estate, but because there needs to be pointed difference, right? There needs to be pointed difference, not just for vendors having choice, but for agents having choice as well. Some people really love that traditional model, or they don't want to. I don't know. People are succeeding everywhere, so we need all sorts. But, if you think about it, phoning a taxi dispatch center, you're usually reaching a human being who's in an office. That office is being paid for. They're now on their computer pinging a driver to then all sorts, right? And then they're, as a user, as the rider, you're trusting somebody's on their way. You're not really having that direct connection. And then you still get your ride to the airport all as well, but you've had to pay for all the steps in between as the consumer. So essentially, like Uber, Arizto places technology in the user's hand, the vendor, and it places technology in the service provider's hand. So everybody has transparency and understanding of the process, but you're still getting the ride to the airport. So you're still having that in-person service. And it's a brilliant model when you align with a good agent who knows how to do the job well. We're not here to change anyone's approach to their relationships or the process. We're just trying to give them, I guess, modern tools to accommodate for busy lives and stuff like that.
So I guess back to what you specifically do, you have to ring a lot of...
Yes.
How is your conversion rate? And I guess, what are some of the, worst stories, best stories you get calling agents trying to convert them over? And another thing is that, do you find it difficult? I know real estate was traditionally a bit of a boys' club, but how do you find it being a woman in this industry? And give us a couple of a best story, someone hanging up on you, worst case. Let us know what you sort of have to do every day, which is quite difficult, I would imagine, honestly. I know real estate agents, and calling them out of the blue and trying to convert them. What are some of the responses you get, and how is it being a female in the industry, or is it indifferent these days?
Yeah, cool. Do you mind if I click out of this? I want to actually look at the number of agents I've hired. I have a tracker, but I need to click out of this quickly. Will it bug or anything? No. Okay, so if I go into our business development tracker and just hit control find with my name, it's attached to 186 results. So that means I've hired 186 agents in the last just shy of 3 years. We can't go too crazy. So yeah, close enough to 200 people. Out of what I was about to do was see what average that was, but I'm not going to touch my phone. That might disconnect us. But over just shy of 3 years, that's about one a week, a little more than one a week, but it probably took me a good 2 months to even know what I was saying or doing, and convincing somebody to uproot their business, leave their office, put what they know behind and jump essentially into the abyss of the unknown was what I was doing 3 years ago when I called them. Today, in pockets of the country, we're the largest agency by either headcount or market share or whatever. And there's still pockets of the country that go, Arizto who? They can't even say the name and have never heard of us. So yeah, it's my day-to-day, I'm lucky that I have access to things like Trade Me One, Roof Rate My Agent.
Yeah.
Obviously, real estate agents have public profiles.
Yeah.
So I have regions that I look after within New Zealand. Canterbury was my first region of focus. There were about 12 agents in the region for us at the time. I think we're close to 70 something agents in the region now. But obviously, Canterbury's massive. Technically, it goes from Kaikoura down to Timaru, right? So we have areas like Selwyn that are insane. Agents selling over 100 per year there, and then other people taking along throughout Christchurch, which is a hot hub, and then mid Canterbury, Ashburton, Methven's huge for us. Timaru is just starting. But point being, essentially, I stock real estate agents.
So how many people would you call in a week to close one? And I guess what's one of the funniest no's you've ever been given?
Okay, I will tell you. I'll tell you this much.
You don't have to say it.
No, I will say, because what's funny is that she works for us now. But let me just tell you, so the conversion rate, back in the day, my job was to have 10 conversations a day, meaning someone answers and doesn't just tell me to fuck off. And so that's 50 conversations in a week, and the goal was to have one good one. So you kind of know to celebrate the small wins. That means, one good conversation a week out of 50 to convert hopefully somebody within a certain amount of time. Yeah. Now, there's somebody who works for us. She's my favorite person in the whole wide world now. Her name is Natasha Brass. She worked at Ray White, Canterbury. I rang her, and she said she's Eastern European, so she's very blunt. And she was like, I can't do her accent. She doesn't really have one much, but she was like, if you want a job at Ray White, I'll tour you around. You're welcome into our office anytime. And it's like, I don't want a job there. I know plenty about Ray White now. I've hired a couple of agents, blah, blah. It's fine. You could just tell me no. And she was like, no, and hung up. So it was probably another, I mean, I've had like the blunt, rude, literal fuck offs, but I find that uninteresting. It's it's just somebody having a bad day, or they don't really want to know more. It's fine. It doesn't happen as often as you'd think. I think there's a sense of empathy that real estate agents would have because they cold call as well, right? So they understand that I'm out here just doing my best. But yeah, so Natasha was the funniest, offering me a job elsewhere and just saying no.
And being a woman in your company, I'm guessing it's a modern company that's going to have. It's pretty indifferent these days, isn't it? Real estate woman. Or do you find it sometimes when you ring them in, they can still be a bit.
We live in a very kind country, so it doesn't happen that much. You still get the odd sweetheart or honey or I've done this, and but that's usually with the older men. Yeah. There aren't many people that have met me with disrespect, though. I have asked a guy who works for us if I could just borrow his suit, where I want to become him for a meeting, just so I can get that automatic respect sometimes. But I guess it hasn't held me back, right? So I think I've helped onboard the most agents. I mean, I have done by a long shot, just because a lot of people have come and tried the job and realized cold calling real estate agents is not for them. So it's just fine.
Before we move on from this section, if you had to give people listening one advice, one tip for people
for cold
calling, what is it? From someone who's a bit of a master, you've done enough of it. What's your go-to, your intro, your something, so you don't get the fuck off?
Well, this is going to sound pretty lame, but it's that I don't have an intro, and it's that I'm trying to actually just be genuine. So I say my name, say where I'm calling from, and I tell them, lately I've been making a joke about real estate agents constantly answering the unknown number, because most people wouldn't do that, but they're probably hopeful it was going to be a prospect or a buyer, and I go, hate to disappoint you, but I'm just here. I'm here to cold call you. Yeah. And
this is we're reversing things here.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, sorry, I'm not actually here to give you money. Well, I, in some ways am, but I think that if you can interrupt the pattern of what they expect me to do, which is sound like a robot, hi, I am calling from Arizto Real Estate. I would just like to know if you are comfortable at your current company. Yeah. I mean, I receive calls like that and I'm like immediately pissed off and I can't stand it. I'm the worst person to cold call, even though I do it for a living. I feel bad for them, but I'm like, man, you're really bad at it. Well, so I think if
following a script, to be fair, some of them, and you can smell it too.
You can feel it. Yeah, you can hear when someone is reading, not talking. I mean, I have my certain ways of explaining things that might sound like a script now because it's a metaphor I've come up with, and I've said 1,000 times. But yeah, so my hit rate comes from just being as normal as possible, trying to be honest and trying to make a joke.
You probably have a lot of nuanced things you do after doing it a lot that you don't realize you do, which are helping. Totally. Which you probably don't think about, if you know what I mean. Like I do stuff like, I know intuitively, like finding common ground. Like that's something I do really quickly. If you can find common ground, you like the same rugby team, you're from the same area, humans just instinctively like that. So I try to find common ground. I don't necessarily think about doing it, I just do it automatically. So there are things
you're connecting.
Yeah, I think there's things like you will do a lot better than you think you do, if that makes sense. So,
yeah, that's probably true. It would be good to go back and listen to
your first calls compared to
early days calls, but versus now. But I think one of the best icebreakers is asking the genuine question if I've called at a good time. Because if it isn't, they'll tell me usually, "Well, no, I'm just real busy." Blah blah blah. If it is a good time, then I start to ask them about what they're up to or what they're doing. I don't know. I just don't have a.
Yeah.
It's nice. I personally need variety. If I'm saying the same thing over and over, I will just zone out. So if there's something in their bio that I can read and pick up on and talk about early, if I'm feeling a certain type of way, I'll just tell them. I'm a bit of an oversharer anyway. So yeah, finding common ground. Sometimes I'll just say, okay, cool, let's not label this a recruitment call then, because you've obviously made it clear you're not keen, but actually, how are you finding the market? What are you receiving out there? How are things churning? And people, there's been plenty of people who have said no in the first minute that I've spoken to for another 30 minutes, and by the end they're going, good on you, you've kept me on the phone longer than anyone, and I'm like, yes, gift of the gab, the old American trait, So sometimes down the track that does turn into them coming to Arizto. There's been people I've signed just this year that I first called 2.5 years ago. So that's been relationship building.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You grew up in San Diego, is that correct? So how did you go, let's touch on, how did you get from there to here? And I guess how was your childhood there? Because for a lot of Kiwis that haven't been to the States, how was it growing up there? And how did that shape your life, I guess, as well? Did you have a good childhood? How did that sort of form who you are today? And
imagine I had the worst childhood ever and I'm like, oh my god, I'm so traumatized by this question. Luckily I had an amazing childhood. I had a kind of like one of those, I don't know if Kiwis would watch much television, but it is that classic like cookie cutter neighborhood where all the houses look the same.
And they call that the atomic family.
Atomic, yes, totally. Yeah. In the suburbs, it was mom, dad, my sister born first, then me, the four of us, and our dog. Just the classic American family, I guess. So it's worth noting. So my dad's African American, my mom is white. So growing up biracial in Southern California, it was a very diverse, I guess, area to grow up anyway. But then there's a further point of diversity that I felt
the
I
South
had.
Is quite, for people who don't know here, you could explain the South a bit too.
Well, the South in the country would be probably not as diverse as the West Coast, let's say. So the West Coast, you start thinking of Hollywood and people move to California to make it big and to do all of that. I'm from just south of, I'm probably a 2-3 hour drive from Hollywood and LA and stuff like that. But I was South County of San Diego, very close to the Mexican border. So you had a huge... it was just very diverse. So growing up was very, I wasn't used to a homogenous ethnic environment, not even in my own home. So I've since left and gone to different countries where you might see more of one race, or I've lived in China, for example, you see all of one race. And those environments are always interesting to me because I grew up in an abundance of cultures. my family, going back many generations, they're all very scholastic. All four of my grandparents were scientists and educators and, university educated, which was very impressive, especially on the African American side. Back in the day, there were so few opportunities. So very high achieving, very encouraging to achieve. And I was a bit of the black sheep. I was the kid that was always like, but why, but why, but why? I was kind of forced into doing things, and then I would find my way to enjoy it. So sports, I enjoyed school. I was one of those kids that kind of didn't try. This is going to make me sound awful, Brent. I was never striving to be an A+ student, because that would have meant I needed to try for sure. Yeah. But I kind of always just found the amount of enjoyment with an amount of laziness that got me a good enough result, like a B+, A-. I don't know how they grade here, but that's basically like definitely more than passing, but also having the freed up time to go and probably have ADHD. I don't know if I actually have that, but it makes sense when I look back.
Yeah.
So yeah, my life was very, I will say the word privileged, because I was safe, I was housed, I was loved, I had opportunities, I had a close family around, even extended family. And we're all still very, very close, especially on my dad's side, because everybody's sort of in Southern California or just in Arizona, which is one state over. So the southwest pocket of the United States. Yeah. But you asked, how did I get from there to here?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. How did you get from there to here? And yeah. You've obviously got a bit of a story.
Well, as a kid, I remember going to bed a lot thinking about otherness. I don't know how else to explain it, but I was always curious about how something else might feel or look, another country, another language, another anything. I was always dreaming about that. So I was a bit of a wanderer. Once I graduated from uni, I was straight away in Europe, and then I moved to Asia, and then I thought, after a stint of travel, okay, I'm going to go back home and lay some roots. But it just so happened I then met a Kiwi bloke who, I started dating, and the second there was an opportunity to leave the States again, I obviously jumped at it. At the time, without getting too political, it was definitely getting heightened with the Trump, administration. So I was all in to leave the United States again. So that's how I ended up leaving the country. And I moved to Nelson for the first 6 years of my time in New Zealand. And I got here at a very strange time, because it was 1 year later, it was COVID. And then I purchased and renovated a property for 2 years. And then by the end of that, that relationship had ended, and I decided to move. But I came to know Arizto when I was between jobs. So anyway, it's a bit more of a long story. That's but right. Yeah, so I moved for love originally.
Well, you come here for love. A lot of people do a lot of things for love, and it's not. Love is unfortunately not the best financial decision a lot of the time, as a lot of people know. Yeah. So I guess you met your ex-partner, got to the South Island, and what were you doing when you first got there? You weren't straight into this role, or?
No, definitely not. It was a humbling moment to move country and have to, I guess, jump into any kind of job, right? So I was on a working holiday visa. I was pouring pints at a brewery for the first job. And then I worked my way up into a cafe. So I say work my way up because for hospitality, those are the best hours. At least you have your nights free. From that point, I started to get into more career opportunities. I was what was called an employment coordinator at Polytech. So essentially, I was teaching mostly the international students how to interview and communicate through things like CV and cover letter for, English language, but also New Zealand expectations, hosting seminars to help them with their, online presence and stuff like that. From there, I've had a lot of jobs actually since moving to New Zealand.
That's all right. It shows character and sort of like it's actually a good thing because it shows the progression as well. You're in a cafe there, and then you just kept battering away. So, obviously when you were down south, going through that breakup with that ex, you had a property at the time. Am I correct on that? And then that would have been quite a hard thing in your life. That breakup, having to get rid of that
Totally.
That would have been quite a hard point as well in a country you're not from.
Yeah, well, that is true. I mean, by then I was pretty acclimated to New Zealand, and I've always labeled New Zealand home since probably about 2, 3 years in.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a sense of belonging within that relationship and extended family that was about to all be put to the side, but for the best and amicable and all that. Hardest part was the dog, losing the dog and that, because I needed to move and choose myself and rebuild. But that was like, oh, that's my one last, that I felt like that was my blood relative that I actually had in this country.
Yeah.
But I'm quite a social butterfly, and I've rebuilt many times through just choosing adventure. So
You're like
moving.
a phoenix.
Totally. But it's
Coming out of
not
the
always
ashes.
that dramatic. It's really not always that dramatic, because most of the time I am choosing the next adventure. It's not like something has burned for me to then come out of the ashes. Nothing was burning when I decided at 25 to move to China on my own. That was just me going, screw it. Yes, let's go.
You didn't burn your ex's ute when you decided you're coming to the North Island? No.
No.
Okay, you behaved.
Everything was fine. Everything is fine. I mean, it now feels fine. Probably in the moment felt heavier, but yeah, I think I've had most of my opportunities in life have been through networking. Really, it's somebody who I've known from a certain time in my life that then reaches out, or that I bump into or something, and they talk about opportunities, and I've been a bit of a yes man throughout that. So that's led me down a lot of different rabbit holes. But yeah, even from, I was saying that I was teaching, or I was kind of teaching at a polytech. A friend had moved home during COVID. By home, I mean back to Nelson, New Zealand. And she got me in touch with her boss where she was working. Originally went in to interview for executive assistant. We were just blabbing away, and he's like, you would be really good at sales. That's the first time anyone has said that. And then he put me under his wing and gave me proper sales training.
Yeah.
So
that was the turning point, I guess, the inflection point. I get that, the start of how you ended up in this. How did you end up from there in this role? Well, that is probably the turning point.
It would be that's the turning point, because my university degree is in biology. I was following my grandparents' footsteps to go into science, and pretty much got that degree and just put it on the mantle, and then buggered off and started traveling, never used it. But I ended up in odd jobs in education, and then in childcare, and then in hospitality, and all of it sort of came together with an ability to kind of learn and process and methodize stuff, then explain, and then nurture emotions, and all of those, cater to. All of those little things just came together as your salesperson. And it was pretty clear once I had that job. I was selling leisure goods for 2 years and doing really well. But obviously it was COVID. Everybody wanted a spa pool. And went from that to become the sales trainer at Four Seasons Leisure Goods Company, which you're furrowing your brow because they're no longer in existence. I think, without throwing anyone too far under the bus, I think I was hired when they were already tanking. They thought I would throw a life raft and teach their salespeople how to sell, but it was a 6-month adventure with them, and then they were in receivership, and I think I was only really training people in person for the last 3 months. But yeah, didn't manage to save that. But anyway, so that was the moment I was out of a job, going, what the hell am I gonna do? And then I knew somebody at Arizto, and they were doing recruitment there, and I thought, oh, I guess I can sell to salespeople. I don't know, what does this involve? At the time, Daniel Budd was the, I think what they called chief growth officer. So he was helping that growth team. The interview consisted of, hi, Dan, it's Camille. I'm keen to learn about the job. And he said, well, if you've got a high IQ and a high EQ, you can do the job. That was it, really. And I just went for it, and somehow managed to do it 3 years later still. So
just fail forward. I like sort of failing forward personally. I think a lot of people overthink stuff.
Fail forward. That's great.
Yeah, just fail forward, because a lot of people get inertia, from me included. You sit around like this podcast and, I need to do this, and I need to make a logo, and I need to do all this. We're like, half the learning's in the doing. And even if you trip over and half step in your first half a dozen steps, by the time you stand up, you're bloody 6 meters ahead of someone who hasn't done anything.
Correct. Yeah. Don't let perfect get in the way of better, or of trying, right?
Yeah, 100%. Because
analysis paralysis, I tell a lot of people, which actually comes up a lot in what I do, because people obviously want to vet something that they might be ready for or keen to go and try, but they are really worried that they won't succeed.
Yeah.
So it's interesting you say this, because I did want to talk to you about this concept of, what I do is recruitment or education or whatever, but a lot of what I do, once someone is keen to talk, is empower them to kind of try, to be like, you can do this. And even if you did it, it's not failing. You're finding alignment, you're finding what's right for you. You're doing the same job. You're not changing careers. You're just, So it's interesting. The mentality that people sometimes have to not even try.
Yeah. And something it's not digressing, it's on the same sort of through arrow. I have people ask me a lot of the time, they still don't listen generally, most of them, but like they'll say, oh, we want to, if you're having a beer with someone, I had a guy the other day, I want to quit my job and do X, Y, Z, and I think I should have a try at this. And then I'm sort of like, are you good at your current career or job? And and he said yes. And I said, are you really good at it, or are you talking shit? No, I'm really good at what I do. I'm a builder, blah, 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 but I want to do this. I think you want to do landscaping and pool building instead. And I'm like, well, just do it. And then if it doesn't work out, all you're going to do is end up back in that same career you're already good at, and you'll probably end up back there happier because you went and tried the thing, the grass wasn't greener. Now you're back at the thing and you're better off. There's no bad outcome unless it was a financial risk and you couldn't, because if you misstepped, it could fuck you financially. Otherwise, just do the thing, because I try to look through my life from 80-year-old Brent and be like, I don't want regret. I would rather... I have done some random things in my life, like opened a gym in my hometown. It wasn't the best financial thing, and I could have actually put that money or capital somewhere else and made more money. But I'm glad I did the thing. I would rather do the thing and end up with less than not do the thing. Because one day when you're old and that, you're not going to care about the extra 20 grand. You'll wish you did the thing. And regret.
Where do you think that actually comes from? Like where and when do you have sorry, I am going to flip this interview now and ask you a question.
This is my interview.
Where and when? Just give me one. Where and when do you think that actually sparked you picturing your older self? Because I've always done the same. I'm living for the woman that is on her, proverbial deathbed, if you will. Not to make it super morbid, but I do want to look back and go, I did the thing. I'm proud of myself for saying yes, or for giving it a nudge and realizing life doesn't actually have rules unless you put them in place, right? Yeah.
So one thing I was really good at, I played a few sports, cricket, rugby, football, and I was really, really good at football when I was younger. And I quit doing it. And that annoys me because I had a couple of coaches. I was only like 12 or whatever when I quit before I went to high school. But I was really good. And the coaches said, look, one of them used to actually coach Fiji and whatever, said, you could end up in the New Zealand team, if you don't be an idiot. And I just become a teenager and be a fucking idiot. Got on the piss and got in the cars and whatever. That is one thing that's always kind of like, that always pisses me off, because I could have got everything I wanted by playing a sport. I could be healthy, I could be wealthy, I can be good at something, you get notoriety, whatever. I'd like a bit of notoriety. But anyway, that's one thing that's always pissed me off from a young age. So I'm like, I never want to feel that feeling again. And both of my parents passed when I was young. So I know life literally can be short. So I don't want to not do the thing, you know what I mean? So I've got a couple of frameworks I work from, both of those, which are pretty powerful, So those are drivers, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah, I've always, I had a similar thing because I was quite good at sports, but I never actually wanted to do the commitment to work toward it. I don't like monotony, and I don't like, it's weird. I'm kind of like a Jill of all trades, right? I like having a little bit of it all, but I am chasing yeah, but nothing goes that deep, It's kind of skim the surface and do my version of mastering it and move on, which is never, focusing in. But I've always chased that satisfaction. My mom was really big on mental health days growing up. So if she ever caught that I was, I don't know, spiraling or stressing over something, she would be like, oh, we don't have to go today, or maybe you need today off. It wasn't like every day and spoiling me. She still encouraged me to work hard because she was a teacher. But I think she really instilled a lesson of take care of the inner you. So when something doesn't feel right, I don't know, I don't just like through thick and thin commit. and not to loop it back into real estate, but there's definitely a sense of blind loyalty in the industry of, yeah, I'm not happy, and yeah, I'm not paid well, or yeah, things aren't working, or they are stressing me out. This does happen. But then somebody will say, but I'm loyal. And it's an interesting concept. I sometimes explain to people I unravel cult mentality for a living. You know, everywhere that you affiliate or becomes your team, it can become a bit of a cult mentality. Oh. Yeah, and at Arizto as well, we're like, hey, we bleed green, you know, we say the same thing, but I'm just aware of that. So I think that it's one of these natural alignment things where who I am, how I've been, how I've thought, I start to drip feed that out sometimes and go, okay, well, what do you mean to who? Who are you loyal to? Is it a person at your brand? Is it the brand? Is it, your partner? Is it your time? Is it your vendors? Is it the money you want to make? And then when I start listing off all those things, they realize none of them are on the list except the brand. And sometimes that cracks through and they start to question it. And I don't even need for them to come to Arizto by me saying that, but I would love to see more people doing the thing, doing the thing, and rattling cages and changing things up.
Anyone
get more out of where.
Yeah, do the thing if you want to do it. That's my advice. There you go. Do the thing.
Yeah, get more out of where you are, like get what you're wanting and haven't asked for, or make a change. And if it's our way, cool, if that's aligned, or if it's somewhere else, cool, I'm rooting for you. Like you and I met and quite quickly it was like, well, no, this probably isn't for you. This isn't what you're long-term up to. And look, now we're having a podcast.
On a tribal conversation, I'm gonna switch it back onto you now, a tribal conversation.
Sure.
Donald Trump. I watched the White House UFC event. I got to admit, I was a fan of that. I know it probably wasted lots of taxpayers' money, but it was a spectacle.
You know what's amazing? Yeah. I don't even know what you're talking about, and what? I on purpose make it that way. I refuse to let anything in that stresses me out these days about the U.S. and anything. I won't even tell the algorithm his name.
You're
so
like
a
Buddha. You've got this monastic life where you kind of like. Well, that's
I'm exercising my privilege to like be ignorant. Genuinely, I have to do it in that space. I was consuming a lot when I moved away, and it's a very loud thing. It's on the world platform. It's very big and it's very look at us. But I carry too much personal attachment to let it in anymore. And I'm so far away. I feel so helpless. I worry for my family that's there who is actively affected. So I check on them, but I try to not. Completely ruin my day by seeing what he's up to.
But he just so you know, like you didn't know, but he just held a UFC event on the White House lawn for his 80th birthday, which is crazy. He had the B-52 bombers come in, everything, full army show, like on the lawn. It's just, I guess it's historical whether you like it or, but it's been controversial. Apparently, some people were trying to get an injunction, take him to court. Anyway. Yeah. American.
It's a spectacle. That's America, right? You look at I'll make it about somebody that I don't hate, which a lot of people do, but like Taylor Swift, for example. She's about to get married in the most theatrical, monumental, spectacle type of way. It's kind of what America's known for, isn't it? Like we're taught from a very young age, you're so lucky you're American. That gets instilled in our minds early, like you have rights. Go be big and go ask for the thing you need.
You know what's funny? I quite like the through arrow of America a bit, like that go get you. You're like, you guys sort of support the go get it attitude, and I align with that. Like here, if you start trying to do that, people get all tall poppy on you and whatever. But that's one thing I like about Americans. I like that through arrow, that like go after it, go get it. Like, I don't think it's a bad thing.
No.
There are some there's good and bad about any country, but I actually quite like that through arrow of America. But like personally,
I'm a big fan of balance. So any one way of being is never good. So if you're only focused on tall poppy and avoiding sticking your head above the parapet, it's probably not good. And if you're only me, I deserve it all, it's also probably not good. But having an awareness of the timing, when to be one or the other, because you're right, I encounter it a lot, obviously in my job, people not wanting to upset the apple cart or stick their head above the parapet, as I said.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe it is my American flair coming in when I'm like,
100%,
no,
because we're
go
more.
do your thing. Go put yourself out there.
Would you feel Kiwis? I think I already know the answer to this, but I'll ask it. Are more conservative than Americans at going
Yeah,
after
for
stuff.
sure.
Like if you had to try get Americans to give something a go business wise, I think I already know the answer, but I want it from you.
Yeah.
What would your answer be to
Yeah.
that?
So somebody that I used to work with who did a lot of recruitment before I did, we often would talk about how easy this job would be if we weren't in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And that's even to say Australia or the UK where he's from, or definitely America. New Zealand is in pockets, especially. There's certain areas where people I think are a little more welcoming of it, but across the board, yeah, you have people who are a bit more like, no, I don't want to be noticed, which is strange because real estate is a look at me job. You have to have a public profile. You have to go out there and say, pick me. It's not just pick my brand, but pick me over my colleagues and all of that. So it's definitely a weird line that we dance across to not offend, but also empower, and I think I find that part of it fun, the challenge of that.
One thing I think I like that you said before is that you've done lots of different things too, and then you still landed here. I think it's quite a good thing that people, you don't have to be stuck in something. Charlie Munger says it, I don't know, he's an American, I don't know if you know who he is, he's Warren Buffett's right-hand man, he's died. He actually really praised being multidisciplinary, like you could he couldn't quantify it, but if you're like, he was a smart man, obviously, and read a lot of different things, and it would kind of like help your decision making in a way you can't really comprehend or put on a spreadsheet. So I believe the same. I've been a motorcycle mechanic, I've done lots of different things, and you can actually drag those all in and take the good bits and become whatever you want to some degree.
Completely. And I feel like every time you say something and I'm thinking about it, maybe because I'm just doing this now for a living, but I always tie it back to my job because real estate's one of those industries. It isn't that common for somebody to, let's say, leave college or uni and go straight into real estate. A lot of agents have had a life, have had diversity in their work background before entering real estate. So the people I'm calling, they can understand that. We usually can get that. And I'm able to sort of find my way in based on our diverse backgrounds, or knowing you can restart at an older age and stuff like that. It's interesting. Even just like, God, I've like made myself learn languages out of a random hobby, just studying Russian on YouTube and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden you'll meet somebody who you can say that one sentence to, and then you have that moment, you have that memory, and you've made that connection, and you never know what that leads to down the track. So it's, within real estate, the people who say, I've been at this one company for 30 years, I'm like, your vendor would probably love to hear that you can talk about the best of all of the options, because you kind of do their homework for them and they can see where they want to align and stuff like that. You said something earlier as well about doing the thing, failing and, well, quote unquote failing, and then being able to go back and be happier. Recently I had an agent who's about to go live at Arizto, and they were confiding in me about that feeling of, I don't want to fail. And I was like, you know what? Worst case scenario, let's say you do fail at Arizto and then you have to go back, tail between your legs, to your old office. Do you understand the red carpet treatment that you'd receive to return, especially coming back from the thorn in their side, bane to their existence, disruption model industry or agency that they are annoyed with? They would love for somebody to go to us and come
100%.
back and be like, it didn't work. I'm like, come on, it would be a great opportunity. And they're like, oh, you're so right. So, I don't know.
And psychologically, that person would then feel better. They'd go back and they wouldn't have that thing in their brain thinking, should I go do something else? It'd be gone.
The what if?
Yeah. And psychological costs, a lot of people don't weigh them up, but they weigh heavy and they have costs attached to them, you know what I mean? So that person would ironically either do the thing and be happy and excel with you, or go back and be happier there. There's no lose in that.
I know. I think not many people are used to, see, I knew that was going to fall at least once during it. That's so funny. Cut that one out. Let's see if it stays for the rest of it. I knew it would. I was just gonna say, I don't think a lot of people actually are used to listening to that internal drumbeat of what their, I don't know if it's the psychological tax or if it's just a random desire, what they're actually wanting and are aligned with. I think a lot of people have learned, could be generational, could be cultural, to stuff it down and just get in line and just make it work and stick it out, right? Because sometimes people think the thing worth celebrating more than their own internal happiness is just I don't know, saying, oh, I've done the thing for a certain amount of time. Time. Yeah. Time people think brings experience, but it's not always the case,
100%. No, someone could, when someone says to me sometimes, I've done this for 20 years, and I'm like, well, I don't give a fuck. You might have done it 1 year terribly or 2 years terribly, and you've done that 10 times.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes young people that are better than you, like, that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
And sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't, because people are habitual. A lot of people don't keep getting better. Like, yeah, so that's a
I don't know if there's like a retention strategy, but it seems that when an agent gets their license, they're told a lot by their agency, oh, this is going to take 3 years. You just have to give it 3 years, or you have to give it 5 years. They're told a number, and then they commit that in their mind. But I've seen a lot of, obviously we have fewer, I think our model tries to create fewer barriers between you, the agent, and a vendor saying yes. There's less risk for them. There's more in it for you, stuff like that. But I often ask, is it an amount of time or is it a number of deals? Like if I were to call you in a year's time, like you're saying for me to do, what is going to be different between now and then? What if you only sell 2 more houses
100%.
in that year? What if let's say you did come to Arizto and all of a sudden people are saying yes to you more often, which is giving you more swings at the plate, giving you the opportunity to transact and learn the deal end to end. And if in 6 months time I've called you, you've sold 16 houses, which version of you is the better agent? The person a year from now or the person 6 months from now who's done more? So
6 months.
Yeah.
Easily, because everything is just reps and sets. You look at the best athletes, Kobe Bryant, what's his name now? LeBron James, they still do. They show up an hour before everyone else at training. They leave an hour later. They do freakish stuff like that on already a heavy regime of training, They just, more reps, more sets. It's always going to win.
Yeah.
So 6 months, more reps and sets, beats a year mulling around. Totally. It's like an active fighter and an inactive athlete, whatever. Same thing, I think.
Yeah, I think we measure a lot of the wrong things, and then we focus
we do the wrong metrics,
and then look back, and then we're like, oh, why didn't that get me further? And it's like, well, you didn't change up the thing that was actually holding you back, Yeah, it's interesting. I wonder
so
what
now I'm going to ask you a
question.
Brent. It's kind of based around why I called this podcast the name I called it. I called it the Mile Extra because I couldn't really call it the Extra Mile because that's already gone. But so I just did a different variation. But the underlying theme of it is like the hard way is the easy way. And that kind of sounds paradoxical. But like what I mean by that is like if you save money today and chip away, it'll make your life easier later. If you don't look after your body, say if you look after your body now, you go for runs or do whatever you like doing, surfing, going to the gym, ironically later in life, you won't have all these health problems, right? So like, ironically, doing the hard stuff will usually make your life easier long term. So what is one hard thing you have done through your life that's made your life easier today?
That is a good question. That is such a hard on-the-spot question.
You know, some time. Like it could be, your family sound like they were quite academic. They like academia and they sort of pushed you in that direction. And the multitude of those things you learned have. I'm not making up your answer, but
it is basically that, right? Like sometimes I feel people wonder why I'm doing what I'm doing or having it work the way it works right now. So my version of easy is obviously having financial freedom, having confidence, having my health, having all these, just like having my comfort zone be wide so that I'm not panicked in unfamiliar. But genuinely, maybe the hard thing I've done is like leave my home, change my environment, go into the unknown, say yes to things that didn't come with a spreadsheet. And it has allowed me to today, I think, just connect with people and say yes. I guess even just recognize opportunities, not just for myself, but see when somebody else might be in front of an opportunity.
Someone not turning their phone off. I didn't know. What the
Podcast
heck?
hosts faux
Sorry.
pas.
Yeah, sorry,
But
carry on.
yeah, even no, you're fine. Even just being able to recognize when somebody else might have an opportunity in front of them and be their hype man toward it.
Yeah.
So yeah, changing up my environment, changing up my security blanket over and over and over again has then made my life easier today for the job I'm doing. There isn't like I wouldn't say I'm in this job and I've had to like get good at it. There's things I had to learn about the company and about real estate and all that, but there's definitely a lever I constantly pull on that is natural to my life story, contributing to my personality and my way of thinking that really starkly applies to this concept.
I think that's a
of
hard thing, to
recruitment
be
or-
honest, moving country, living
Yeah.
somewhere else.
Yeah.
If you've done that, it'd the confidence to do other things, it would just carry on through. It's a hard thing,
Makes it-
moving country, getting
Yeah.
going again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know I can do it. Like I will not let myself drown. I back myself to figure things out, find comfort again. I feel there's a lot of places on the planet I could be dropped out of an airplane and I might know someone, and it's nice. Cool. Yeah.
So moving on from there, health, we'll get into health now. What do you do to keep yourself healthy, and how do you think keeping healthy to some degree helps with your job, things like that? Do you go for walks? Do you try to eat well? I guess, what's your thing?
Yeah, well, I mean, full disclosure, growing up in my teens, I had a full-blown eating disorder, and something I didn't recognize until I was in my 20s. I looked back and went, that wasn't right. Like in the moment, I think I just justified it throughout, but there was an obsession in the early 2000s of being skinny.
Oh, skinny, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so it was like anorexia, bulimia, stuff like that. Luckily, it just kind of naturally left. I didn't have to. I never got sick, but it was definitely happening, and it was something I only came to terms with later. So health is actually quite important to me because I want to respect my body and honor it and treat it well, because I have mistreated it in the past.
Yeah.
That's one side of it. So in terms of food, I try to listen to my body, eat when I want, eat as much as I want or as little as I want without putting any kind of parameters around when I should eat, how much I should eat for it to be considered acceptable. It's like genuinely trying to fuel my body. Of course, I lean into amacas from time to time, but most of the time I'm, just thinking about protein, thinking about colors on my plate, and making sure that I feel good when I have it, because I'm sensitive to some food, so I avoid those things now. But so yeah, most of the time, and I have decent genetics, I think, for health.
That's good.
My grandfather, yesterday turned 101. So I've got longevity genes in my family. I want to become part of that. Yeah. So I'm very, very cognizant of it. Don't smoke. I don't, vape or anything. But fitness, this now ties into another full disclosure, vulnerable thing. But I was born with scoliosis. So I actually have had experience with chronic pain in my body.
Do you want to explain what that is for people who...
Scoliosis, sure. It's basically your spine taking a trip right or left and creating S shapes or sometimes twists or C curves. I have every single one of them at various points in my spine. So it's not severe enough for surgery, but the only thing that got me out of chronic pain was actually weightlifting, which is something I discovered since getting to New Zealand. I've had my bouts of being very active at that and then being a bit lazy again. I am though back with a trainer, which is really nice. Just picking up heavy shit really and just trying to move my body in a diverse enough way that I keep doing it. But recently, Brent, and this is a plug and a shameless drop, but I'm actually rehearsing for a musical called 9 to 5, which is going to be here in Tauranga at the Bay Court Arena, Bay Court Theatre, end of July. It's on for a week, but I'm rehearsing. I've got like 8-9 hour blocks on a Sunday, dancing just the whole freaking time. So I'm keeping active by way of
keeping up with Latinos
hobbies. Keeping up with Latinos.
Yeah. Dancing.
I was like, are there any Latinos in the? No, it's not Latin dancing, but
what kind of dancing is it? Sorry.
It's just choreographed dancing for musical theater.
Oh, okay, yeah,
So
sorry.
yeah, the play is a musical, so it's it's a nice story and whatever. It's actually, well, it's called 9 to 5, which most people know that song, "Working 9 to 5,"
Yeah,
right? Dolly Parton. So it was a movie back in 1980 that then Dolly adapted for Broadway, and she's done all the music and lyrics. So it's a cool story, but there's a song every
yeah,
second,
that's
and
cool.
I am in the ensemble that basically dances behind the leads
The lead.
during most of those songs. So it's everything you can think, from like jazz to line dancing to interpretive to a bit like it's just a lot. It's a lot
Yeah.
of movement. So that is really fun. It's another example of do the thing.
Do the
Look
thing.
back and go, most people wouldn't go up on stage. I'm really happy to go and try it. It's a new hobby. So yeah, my life, it tries to be as diverse as it can to keep my attention. And
Yeah.
then it's usually a happy accident that I'll stay fit because of that.
Well, that's you just sort of it's yeah. So I guess
You might have to trim that answer down
from
to
when
the
you
key points.
I guess energy levels now compared to when you weren't eating a lot and misbehaving, it'd make a night and day difference, wouldn't it? Eating properly, keeping reasonably fit in your multitude of
Yeah.
activities. So yeah, I guess back when you were behaving like that, what were you eating a day? Not much.
Yeah, I was definitely creating an anxiety around calorie counting, label reading,
Yeah.
trying to avoid high calories, avoid fat, avoid food. And then, gosh, this is so terrible, but I was probably 10 years old when a friend of mine taught me how to make myself throw up. There was just this weird
That was
obsession for girls to
that was
to
back in
be skinny and
the
to,
Kate Moss
yeah,
sort of
yeah,
era
exactly.
and
Yes,
you know.
totally. So anyway, at the times when I was thinking, oh, I could just puke this up, it's so gross, but I would
Yeah.
just allow myself to have whatever. And then yeah, just it's not good. Like it's
No, it's
just
not good.
something that was so confusing to realize later, because like I said, in the moment I wasn't thinking, oh,
I
I've got an eating
think a lot of
disorder.
young girls actually still think like that, which is not great. Like so
It's not good. No,
no.
no. So for me, health isn't, I mean, there's of course a vanity aspect to it. Of course, I want to like how I look.
Yeah.
But for me, function is one of the best focuses for fitness, and avoidance of pain is a huge focal point for me to stay
Especially with
active.
your back, eh?
And then especially with my back, and so it's all about how I feel. Like a number on a scale, I've not worried about that, luckily, for better part of 2 decades. Well, probably that's not true. Maybe 15 years. But yeah, I try to just say I feel good enough.
Yeah.
And then I have to ride the wave of having, of course, a monthly cycle where there's going to be a week where I'm not going to like it, any of it.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not going to have the energy for any of
50,
it. So being a
50%
woman
of
is,
the
being a woman's
population.
the gift that keeps on giving, for sure. But yeah, no, I think avoidance of pain, not just physical but psychological, is a good driver for humans. So when you've had physical pain, you can remind yourself the need to be strong in
100%.
your body.
I've
Yeah.
blown 2 discs in my back and I've had a bad shoulder, bad knee. Like all your other problems sort of hail in comparison when you get in and you work out pretty quick what matters pretty
Chronic injury.
quickly, you know. It's like if a relative
Yeah.
gets sick or something like that. But
Correct.
yeah.
Yeah.
So no, I think we
Stark
move on
reminders.
from that now. And any young woman
Sure.
listening, don't do the not eating thing. It's not good. The only thing that good that come out of that era is an espresso martini. Do you know how they got invented?
No.
Do you not know? Kate Moss
No.
used to get up hungover and go. She went to the bar one day and went to the barman. He got famous because he invented it and went, I need a drink that'll wake me up and fuck me up. Just make something.
Wow.
And that's what. And then
Wow.
she'd go bang, bang, bang and drink 2 or 3 of them or something. So, yeah, don't do that. Anyone listening, that's not a good health move. But that
No
she and
espresso martinis for breakfast.
yeah, I actually love an espresso
I like
martini.
I like an I like
I
them
can't deny
as
it. But
I love coffee.
don't do it for weight control at 7:30 in the morning. But yeah, there you go.
Hilarious.
So I guess on finances at the moment, I usually do health, wealth, happiness just quickly. So we just did health. I
Yep.
guess from what are you up to now financially? I think you're looking at buying a house from last I hear. That's probably a primary thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm squirreling away cash at the minute, which is like really annoying because I know I've talked to you about how you view finances. You're like money in the bank's the worst thing.
Yeah.
So, but I am positioning myself to buy a property. I felt quite new to Tauranga, so buying a house that I would live in it felt really permanent in a place I didn't know. I was actually, full disclosure, loving not owning a property. Once I got rid of the last one in the relationship breakdown, I was like, oh my God, I don't have rates. If something breaks, it's not my problem. So I stepped back into a bit of adolescence, but now I've had enough of that, and I want to nest again and get an animal again. And
Yeah.
my partner and I are looking, hopefully before the end of the year we'll buy.
Yeah, awesome.
So we have this goal now over the weekends between now and maybe October. We're hoping to just one morning a weekend go and visit a new cafe in a new part of Tauranga and get to know different neighborhoods. And he's been living in the Mount for the last 10 years, so it's the only part of Tauranga he knows well. But we're both really open to changing it up. We have a dream of like a little mini farm. We want a little bit of land. We want, ducks and a pig and dogs and cats and all
Literal
that.
chicken, so you can be like a mother hen.
I am ready. So yeah, so that's the next goal, which I am just trying to stack cash for a healthy deposit. But I enjoy having the freedom of, I can get on a plane and go see my family, and I can make choices for fun trips in between. It's not a huge, rice and beans situation to scrimp and save. So it's nice being in sales. It's nice having commission-based income, because you get large injections, as you know, at random times, and then you can make choices of how to get that working. So
It's a bit of a
talk to
storm
me in a
sometimes.
year, hopefully. Oh, totally.
A bit of a storm sometimes.
False
Anyone
sense
listening
of
who's not in sales, it's a bit of a roller coaster, as you know.
false sense of security, right? You might invoice one week for like, I don't know, 15K, and you're like, cool, most people do not make that in a week, but then you won't see your next paycheck for a while.
Yeah,
So you've got to make that last.
So have you got any if you got to give one financial tip to people listening, other than don't find a bad boyfriend? I think that'd be probably, or is that your best advice? What's your one financial tip?
Not.
Don't find a bad partner. That's actually a good one. To be honest, I see a lot of
that is a good one. That is a good one.
It's literally a good one.
Well, I'm not a financial guru by any means of the term, but my mom always said, make sure, maybe she was doing this because in her generation, like her mom was probably telling her the man provides or something like that, It was rare for women to have careers way, way, way back when. But my mom was like, just make sure you have you. Make sure you've got protection for yourself. You have an out, you can always change something up. You have a bit of a safety blanket. So I've always diversified even just if I'm keeping money in a bank, I diversify it. So I have my checking, which I keep barely anything in there. I have the savings that I'm trying to make sure I don't touch, so I've got that serious saver so that I'm actually penalized if I touch it. And then I have a pot of fun money that sits, so it's not there for the day in, day out, but it's there for either, I like to label it positively, travel or something, but it's also there for the emergencies, so so it keeps me away from certain things. But I'm also, I think, don't be afraid to live and spend, because if you create, I guess, more on your must-haves list, you'll work to keep
100%.
affording that as well.
Yeah,
that's sort of...
I can't talk. Humans, if you actually think back to when you were young and you were earning a certain amount of money, anyone can do this, and you go, if I earned double that money, I'd be so happy. And then, if you've lived a while, that happens, and then nothing changes because you're not.
Yes, nothing. I'm in the best place I've ever been financially, but I feel the exact same as when I would go to the ATM and see genuinely I had $12.90 left in my account. You know what I mean? You just everything becomes a window of opportunity. So like if I only had $100 to my name, I saw what that $100 could do, and that's the window I lived in. And now if I have $100,000, I see the window, and it becomes not that much money when you start thinking about buying a house,
100%.
So it's all relative.
It's strange. You got to try be happy all the time, because
Correct.
humans are adaptive, and we're on like a hedonic treadmill that we're constantly running on, and we adjust to stuff, and then
So true.
which is kind of sad. Like when you hit goals, you
I
think this
know.
is going to be the best thing ever. Then like 20 minutes later, you're like,
Never.
yeah, this is just all right. Like, so,
It's that concept of the further you go, the further you see, which means then the further you would like to go. And I think
100%.
one of the biggest realizations I was grateful for when I finally got into maybe my late 20s and I was hitting that concept of aging and maturing or whatever it was, I actually realized that I don't know anything and I never will. And I like released control of having to be an expert on anything. I was like, living is learning. That's it. If you're alive, you're still taking on information. So if you start blocking new information, you're going to get stuck or maybe become a bit gristly and unhappy. But I think I like reminding myself that it's okay to be a forever student and to kind of go, I don't know, fuck it, let's try it and be a kid again, and like kids are so confident and they're so
Yeah, 100%.
exploratory and they're just like, they're just getting into life. And I don't know, for some reason we think that stops, but new information doesn't stop every
We
single
get that beat
day
out
if
of
you're
us, but
looking.
what's
Totally.
yeah, what's funny is some of the smartest people I ever talked to, and this is sort of the opposite of what a lot of people do. Like when you go to talk to them and try like get some information out of it, before you notice they're doing it back to you. Like onto it, people are always collecting. Like, like so it's a good way to be.
Totally.
Like how a child
Yeah.
is. I think we just get beaten out of us with age. To be honest, like you need to act like this. Blah 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 blah. It
Yeah.
just happens to everyone.
Yeah.
Eh? On that
Yeah,
happiness
it does.
thing, I think as you get up, it's funny with me. Like you want to be careful. You're not just chasing financial goals all the time. And I try to like, even when I eat meals these days, I'm like, I actually like eating meals. Don't eat it really fast. Like I try to find happiness in
Yeah.
random things. Like just apparently, this is actually a stat. French people are happier in general than I don't know people in the UK or something, and a lot of it was to do with how slow their meal times are. They actually, I think French and
Wow.
Italians slow down the process of eating, and everyone likes eating. But like in the modern world, it's the little things that are actually like they can bring you a lot of happiness if you're like, if you've got food and you've got your basic needs are met. You can actually find a lot of happiness in simplistic stuff, like which is
Yeah. Slow
random. You
down.
don't need the like Rolex. You don't need the,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
I guess
There
what's
was
something that makes you happy these days, and how have you changed in the last 10 years? What you thought would make you happy 10 years ago to now? Now that we're touching on happiness.
You've got these big, heavy hitting on the spot questions that are so like I feel like we could talk about that all night.
There goes one for me, like
I
the food thing,
yeah,
which seems real simple, but I
yeah.
literally have to think it sometimes when I'm eating. I'm like, stop eating I eat really fast. Like if you let me, I can just smack food. Like I used to go to a restaurant and it's rude too, and I know it. And I try not to do it now for two reasons. It's rude and I try and enjoy the food. But when I was younger, because I was always like, time's money, this is money, everything, like you're wasting time, you're mucking around. You know what I'm like,
Yeah.
I've been with finances. And so now I slow that process right down, but I still have to actively think to do it. But it's just one of those things, and I eat slower. And I used to I'd eat my whole meal, and most people had done quarter of the plate, literally. And they'd look down and be
Oh
like,
my
what the
God.
fucking fuck? Like, you're a dog. And I'm like, I think it was me and my cousin when we got brought up, like we would kind of like, we got brought up in the same
You're
house.
not
And if
being
there was like
chased.
two boys, like, and if there wasn't like, there'd only be a certain amount of food, and me and him would just smack the food, So it's like, I either eat
That's
it first
so
or you
funny.
do. So I don't know.
Yes, yes, yes.
To
Oh
the
my God, that's
leftovers first.
hilarious.
But now I've gone full circle on that. So that's something I do, like try sleep properly.
Makes me happy.
Try like slow down on meals. So
Yeah. Mm.
that's a
I
big change
think,
from me 10 years ago. It's massive.
yeah.
What would be your
I
thing?
mean, it's hard to pinpoint, but like honestly, connection always makes me happy. Like having my friends and my like partnership, I love just externally processing. I love hearing people's perspectives. I love having a laugh. I wouldn't say that that's different to 10 years ago, but maybe one of the things that is trying not to spread myself too thin. So like having the narrower circle and knowing like I've got those really solid relationships instead of like wanting to be everybody's best friend sort of thing. When I was younger, I think I tried to fit in where I didn't actually fit in, and then spread myself a bit thin and had some fatigue from that socially. And my job is very, like, my partner will say, how are you still talking? You know, my job's like all day long, but I think that I don't tire of getting to the core of somebody or hearing the truth come out, because there's a lot of pleasantries that we do as people, just, oh, how are you? Yeah, I'm good, when you're not. But like, you know, all those kind of knee-jerk reactions. So I think I've always enjoyed having that heart to heart. I'm just not maybe that fussed with having it with absolutely everyone. So yeah, I have my go-to people I lean on. I also really like, I mean, we live in a beautiful country and in a beautiful spot of a beautiful country. I love getting out and being reminded of my size in the universe. You know, I'm actually quite a small, insignificant speck. So even just seeing something like the physical mount and going, oh my God, this is really what it all is. Let's listen to the waves crash. Let's put sand between our toes, and let's remember that none of it really matters at the end of the day. We're
on a cosmic scale.
You know, we're existing.
Much, you know?
So but I think I can become desensitized to the beauty that we are in because I see it every day. So I do enjoy getting out, even if it's just to go, I don't even know where, but just get on the road and see something else. And my partner and I are trying to have more trips planned, just even quick weekend trips away and see something else and feel a point of difference and a change of scenery, you know? I like those sorts of things.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, well, I think I've kind of... So would you consider yourself a bit of an empath? No.
100%.
Yes. Okay, well, that's the 100%. End of the podcast then. I've had enough of this. No, I'm joking. I got no time for this. I need Machiavellian tips only. No, I'm joking.
No, I'm such an empath. I have always been from childhood. But you know what's weird is the moment that I think my mom knew I was actually, I was only 10 years old, but it was 9/11 when they were televising people. This is a horrible way to end the podcast.
I remember watching that. I can remember where you know, big salient things like in your life.
Oh, of course.
You can, like, there's not many points in my life I can remember where I was standing. And I can remember I was standing when I seen that. Just carry on, sorry.
Yeah, well, it was later that night. I mean, I'm a child, so I'm trying to react to the adults' reactions around me. So I remember my dad going weird, and I was like, he's normally cool, calm, collected. Then my teacher was crying, and then, essentially that night they were showing people, and you don't have to use this for your podcast, by the way.
No, it's horrible, fine. That's good. Yeah.
They were showing people, like, you know, jumping, and I'm 10 years old, but I'm picturing the view from those people's eyeballs. Like, I'm picturing being them, and it all became, and I even pictured what it would feel like to fall and know and be aware and have to choose that. And it was so overwhelming for my 10-year-old brain. But instead of asking questions or asking for help, I just silently exited and then went to the bathroom upstairs to cry. And my mom found me there, and she was like, "Whoa, you've deeped that. You understand it. You get what's going on." And I don't even think I even told her, no, I physically felt and experienced it in my brain, you know? So it's kind of why I have to exercise the privilege of, like, shutting the world off sometimes. Because if I see too much bad news, like, I will picture being them. That's just the natural default thing that I do, and I can't take it sometimes.
You viscerally feel it, like some people don't.
I do. Yeah. I let it in. I really let it in, and I'm like, oh, it'll just ruin me. I'll be physically sick.
It's a huge thing, though. Really good speech from, who was your president at the time? Bush. Yeah,
Bush.
Not that I was a massive fan of Bush, but he did a really good speech. Remember when he stood up on the thing? Really good speech from him after that.
I don't remember that.
You should look it up. He did a real good speech. He was actually standing on the rubble and,
Oh, right, yeah.
Really good speech.
I should do.
Yeah. You have some presidents, some American presidents have been really cool. You know,
they're
cyclists, some of them aren't, some of them are, but they have some big famous, you know, good speakers, good orators.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you have to have that gift to even make it to the podium as an option, haven't you?
Yeah.
You can't do it not being a communicator, although the current example might be the anomaly of that. But anyway.
Love them or hate them, like, people regardless, you can't get to that position in life unless you're persuasive. And whether you're
Oh, he's
persuasive,
speaking to a population. He's definitely speaking to a part of somebody and a lot of somebodies that have been anti-establishment. And
yeah,
there are things he does that are refreshing in terms of just like having no rules. And we've talked about that a lot. But I see it as dangerous, of course, because of the extremism that exists in America. So it widens that gap, I think. But yeah, you're right. I mean, he obviously has won
he says a lot of
twice.
things he never follows through with, but he's a good speaker.
Yeah.
Obama was a good speaker too. He
Totally.
pauses a lot.
I
With
love-
Donald Trump, what he does really well is speak in absolutes, whether he follows through with it or not.
That's true. Yeah.
He speaks like it's unequivocal. Like this is happening.
Certainty. Yeah.
That is
yeah.
happening. And from me, I'm trying to get better at speaking. And like, if you watch people like him, that's something he does, which is really powerful in speaking. Something Obama did was like he pauses a lot.
Yeah.
He'll say a sentence, you can picture his voice, then he just stops. Yeah,
lets
so
it sink
American
in, yeah.
American presidents, Martin Luther King's another one, brilliant speaker. Like
Yeah.
they're just
Totally.
your country's actually got some real world-class speakers, but that's another talk.
Definitely.
That's another talk.
Episode 2.
Episode 2. So, advice for your younger self. If you could go back, 20-year-old self, and just give her one thing, other than and it can't be no drinking espresso martinis for breakfast. That is one thing, though. And it can be anything, financial.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be financial.
Probably to put myself first more. I think I really prioritized romantic relationships more than my own, like building my own bubble and then letting those things naturally come to me. I kind of made myself available for those things to work, and then they didn't work anyway, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I took a lot of risks and I did a lot of things for me too, but I think I always kind of put that at the tip top. So maybe just like, do you.
I agree with that. And ironic, I've done that, been in relationships I shouldn't have been in when I was younger. And the irony, a lot of these things are paradoxical, that the thing you should do doesn't feel like you should. Like, if you build yourself up and become brilliant, if you're healthy, vibrant, you're going somewhere in whatever industry or facet, like music, business, whatever career you're doing, if you're doing well, you'll magnetize decent people. And don't worry, you'll get a good boyfriend or girlfriend soon enough, and you'll start getting top of the chain. Ironically, like you don't have to chase
And
it.
you'll probably have more in common with that person who comes into your life because you're doing you, and they've found you by
It doesn't
way
feel
of
like that when you're young,
commonality.
though, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's hard to even really know yourself. I feel like I'm still shocking myself at 35. I'm going, oh, I didn't realize I felt that way about that, or notice things like this. Yeah, so ever changing.
At least you're aware of it. I think a lot of people don't know themselves ever. So if you know what I mean. So, like Socrates said, know thyself. It's one of the most important things. So,
Humbling stuff.
I think I have held you long enough. But if people want to find you, or if you got any real estate, I know there's some real estate agents listening to this. I could guarantee it. If they want to find you, where can they find you? And I can put a link at the bottom of this, obviously.
Yeah, I do have an Instagram for work, so just Camille at Arizto, CAMIAT, ARIZ before the TO. Or my email, camille.c@aristo.co.nz. That's if people, of course, are wanting to find me for work-related topics. Personally, I'm not much of somebody to follow. I don't have an internet presence. I'm not going to give out my cell number. But but for work, that's where people can find me on Instagram. They can email me, Arizto website, stuff like that. So definitely.
Any advice to those agents who are thinking of do the thing, give you a call.
Do the thing. It comes back, it actually comes back to what we ended with, which is know thyself. So a lot of what I see in the industry is copy-paste personalities of trying to be like whoever they've seen become successful without realizing you could carve a whole new path toward a version of success no one has seen yet, So just know thyself, figure out what you like, figure out what's holding you back, ask for what you'd like to do or what you need, and then change. Don't be afraid of change. Change your environment if it's not working.
Those are some sage words. So we'll end on that.
Are they?
And thanks heaps for coming on. First woman, appreciate it.
No worries, Brent. All good. Thanks for having me. It was good to chat.
Yeah, it was.